Lucy McDonald is Chief Investment Officer at Allianz Global Investors. I'm just going to pick up on that. I mean, 7% bullish call, Lucy. From ING, you've been neutral on markets. So what's it going to take to shift Allianz to let's say, a more aggressive stance than neutral?
Well, we did go more neutral about March, following the good rise that we'd had in the market, and now watching to see what's happening with the politics in Europe in particular. And while that's happening, we think that there isn't anything to be gained really by having too much risk on the table while that's happening. It's too difficult to call. What
would be the catalyst for you to encourage you back into the market in a stronger long position?
Well, I think a bigger correction than we've seen already would clearly be of interest. And then I think a little bit more clarity on this situation within Europe. And we've had the support from the LTRO since December, so that's certainly helped the liquidity situation within Europe. That really is fading now, and we need to see now what's happening with the fiscal compact as we go through the various elections, France being important, but also we have Greece coming up. And then, as we go through the year, we're going to see how the support for the fiscal compact survives.
When you talk about correction, let's just tidy that up. We've had 2% drop in April on the stock 600. So what kind of further pullback might we expect?
Well, something more like 10% could be interesting, and that would give you something which was really there to support a more bullish tone. But at the moment, we really have not seen very much.
Let's look east. Would you concur? I mean, I've read a whole variety of reports that the first quarter was going to be the bottom for China in terms of growth. So would you concur? Have we seen the bottom in terms of GDP and growth in China, and are we set for a boon in the back half of the year?
Well, we think so. We think we're beginning to see a bit more growth in lending, very early stages. And although the picture is still quite unclear, we saw PMI, it's not strong yet, but we think that there's more encouragement there, that you could see a strengthening through the year than you can see either in Europe or in the US, where the reverse is probably likely to happen.
Now, how do I access that? I saw two of the names in your report, WPP, and obviously we've had Adidas today. Talk to me about those stocks.
Well, you can either go there and buy stocks locally, which we do, but also another way of doing it is to access it through stocks in the developed world. And Adidas is a clear example of one of those, and you could see that today. The real growth coming through, the top line for them was from China. And it was interesting as well because we've seen some of their Chinese competitors over the last couple of weeks coming out with slightly weaker numbers. And that, I think, had caused a little bit of concern. In fact, they seem to be winning market share off the locals.
So that's brand, is that about the strength of the Adidas brand, about quality? So that's winning through.
That's right.
And let's just talk about WPP. I mean, Sir Martin Sorrell makes it very clear that it's the digital space where WPP wants to create the biggest growth. And does that tie up with the China story for you, or is that a global story?
It's both. And so the two areas where they're seeing the best growth are digital and then through the emerging markets. But tying up the strength of the brand of Adidas with what's happening with WPP. I mean, the reason why you have a brand is because you support it with advertising. And so the more these brands want to move into the emerging markets, the more they're going to have to be supported by advertising. And so that's really the interest. So you capture that through a WPP or a Publicis.
Just very, very quickly, US versus Europe in terms of the halfway mark in the earnings. Europe 55% ahead on net income. The US is ahead. Should I rebalance and skew more towards the US?
Well, there is two aspects here. One is how the earnings are doing, but the other is what's going to happen with the market overall, because there is a volatility difference between the way that they behave. So in a down market, the US tends to outperform. And that's what we seem to be sort of more inclined towards at the moment. So the US, in that environment, is likely to do a little bit better. As far as the earnings are concerned, they actually made most of their earnings. So we've had surprise on the upside on both sides. But I think for Europe at the moment, we just want to be a little bit on the sidelines.
Lucy McDonald, Chief Investment Officer at Allianz Global Investors. Thanks for your time.